you fool! Only the strong may see the face of our illustrious lord. You need to prove your strength before you...
It is fine. I don't mind.
She's... She's so pretty!
The Lance Maiden, Liana Sandlot.
The legends weren't far off.
Indeed. She's more beautiful than any legend or painting could replicate. I'm sure the same could be said of her skill with a lance.
Yes, I expect much from your Crimson Blade as well. Duvali, Ines, Enea. You may fight with your strength uninhibited. Yes, my lord! Now, let us both use our full strength.
Hey everyone, this is Nitro. In this video, I am going to be doing the 4th challenge battle of the Trails of Truth event, which is called Steel Maiden. So let's jump in and get started on this one. So let's talk about the fight in great detail before I play it out. First of all, the party I'm going to run is Ledin, Young Jessica, Landius, and Rachel. So these 4 form the core of my party. The last 2 will be Tiaris and Liana. I was able to clear this with running Lana instead of Liana. But Liana certainly makes it easier since she can provide a second heal to keep everybody healthy. But Lana can work as well. In the case of using Lana, she basically just ends up sitting on a tile gathering strength until she has extremely high intelligence, and then she comes in and adds a lot of extra damage at the very end. But you don't need that. It's an optional addition. But ultimately, the core party members would be Young Jessica, Ledin, Landius, and Rachel. And these 4 allow me to do most of the fight, with these 2 offering just extra support. Liana, in my case, has Jugler Plushie or Teddy Bear, and that improves the Gospel to last 3 turns rather than just 2. This is useful because it allows Young Jessica to sit on those tiles to get increased int during the phase 2 battle without having to step off of them constantly. You'll see that in the second part of the battlefield. But that's actually the biggest reason why I brought Liana instead of Lana. Because it allows Young Jessica to start to consistently attack while getting improved stats. Finally, Ledin has the faction buff and Righteous Duel. Landius is running an interesting skill set with his faction buff, route, and move again. So this is more for a turn 1 setup to force Arianrhod into the right spot. You can choose to instead have, let's say, you just need someone who can route and move again. Like, it could even be Leon, if you have Leon built and you don't have Landius properly built. But I do bring Landius because Landius, at least with his faction buff, will buff up Rachel, so Rachel can more consistently attack as well. And of course, yeah, Ledin's faction buff buffs up Young Jessica and Liana. Young Jessica brings 2 single target skills with Divine Bestowment, and Tiaris has Heal, Mass Heal, and Attack Blessing. Last but not least, Liana has Act Again, Prayer, and Gospel. So with my characters covered, I'm going to now talk briefly about Arianrhod. So Arianrhod has 2 phases. She switches to her second phase after she gets knocked to around 120k hit points roughly, but her initial phase has Stormlance, Total Destruction, and Anglia Hammer. The key thing here is that Stormlance, of course, will allow her to attack and get to the furthest point, having 2, and you can manipulate that to force Arianrhod into a bad position. Total Destruction, initially, is just quite annoying. It attacks 3 straight lines in front of her with a 2 block range. So it would be like a rectangle in front, like this 3x2 rectangle in front of her is what it hits. It does apply a displacement effect, pushing the targets back 2 blocks. And it's not much of a threat until she gets the Act Again effect from her Steel Maiden buff. So early on, you're allowed to tank this hit without any issue. Finally, Anglia Hammer hits characters within 2 blocks of herself, dealing 0.35 times damage and reducing the damage they deal by 20%. Nothing too special with that skill. So finally, her talent. she pretty much has her standard talents, except there's a few additional effects. First of all, when there are less than 2 enemies within a 4-block radius of her, or if there are more than 3 enemies adjacent to her, she will have her skill span increased by 5 and her attack increased by 200%. So she's going to start one-shotting you. So you cannot ever allow her to do that. Right? And that buff cannot be dispelled, ignores immunity. And so that's a new unique effect. So in other words, you have to have 2 characters from 4 blocks of her at all times. And second, if this unit is below 70% hit points, it can take 1 additional action. Right? And the cooldown trigger for this effect is a 2-turn cooldown. So just like a 6-star Arianrhod normally. Also worth mentioning, although it's brief, is, she has her standard buffs as well. So when unit hit points is higher than 70%, damage taken is decreased by 15%. And then after taking damage or at the end of the turn, if you're in the danger zone, gain the following effect. Attack increased by 5%, damage increased by 5%, damage taken reduced by 5%, and mobility increased by 1. And this buff can be stacked up to 3 times. So yeah, it's basically her regular Steel Maiden talent with a few extra effects. So with all that covered, let's demonstrate the way to clear this battle. Okay, because there is a way to more or less cheese this fight. Here we go. So the first turn is really the major turn where you have to set up properly, and the whole point is to force Arianrhod to use Stormlance. Not Total Destruction, not Anglia Hammer, but Stormlance. And she should Stormlance to the indoor tile here next to the sky tile, so you can surround her very easily. That would set up the whole rest of the fight. So to make that happen, at the same time, you have to make sure that Arianrhod has 2 characters within 4-block radius of her, so that she doesn't get the extra skill span and extra attack. So I'm going to place Liana here and Rachel here, and that should force that to happen. Then let's have Landius just faction buff in the line for the Stormlance strike. And Ledin can place himself here as well, but first I need to move the other characters. So find a spot for young Jessica is what I have to do right now. And I think I may have to put her here. And then Tiaris can just shift back like this. And then finally, the faction buff from Ledin should make this all happen. So Arianrhod, Stormlance goes down. And she places herself just, I guess, between my Landius and Ledin. So that's not the tile I want her to be in. So what I'm going to do is I'm first going to move Ledin into the blocking tile. And I'm going to have Landius, who has the route and move again, routes Arianrhod into the tile I want her in. And then just block her off. Rachel can start shifting south. And everyone else can start moving forward. So I'm now shifting characters into their positions that I want them to be. Alright. So now, Arianrhod, Anglia Hammer, AoE attack. Doesn't kill anyone. And I will start with Rachel. Actually, I'm going to start with Tiaris coming down. And why don't I just mass heal? To heal them both up. And healing light them. So I can do this at this time because Arianrhod has not been knocked below 70% yet. So she does not get to act again. So let's take advantage of this and start attacking her. So Righteous Duel. She's just gonna act once and it won't have any real impact as a result. So there's one attack. Landius can strike. Oops, I misclicked. And heal up from Healing Light. And end turn where she is. And Rachel can come down, and I might as well launch, I don't know, Holy Word? And heal up the others a bit. So, young Jessica is steadily shifting position, and I'm going to have her activate her Divine Bestowment here, at this point. So now she has She has 5 range, although she's attacking at 4. Okay. And finally, Liana can just continue to shift over. So, total destruction and the knockback. Not a big deal. So, Tiaris, self-heal, healing late on Landius. And then Landius can come charging south and attack. And end turn. Ledin, melee attack. Rachel, Dark Reaper attack. And I'm going to have young Jessica actually enter turn so I can shift her 1 tile further. This is a 4 tile attack. I might as well shift her to the 5 tiles away. Right. That is optional though. I can leave her here. So that's kind of up to you. If you want to leave her in this tile, there's nothing wrong with it. So she can attack. And I'm just gonna have Ledin or Liana end turn. So, Ledin is the primary target for Arianrhod to strike because I had Ledin placed next to Arianrhod early on. So that's why that attack occurred. I'm gonna have Rachel range attack to start and just heal up. I'm going to have young Jessica range attack. Landius can or Ledin can faction buff. Landius can faction buff. And I think that's pretty much it for now. So I might as well shift Tiaris over though. And attack Blessing young Jessica here. And beyond that, Liana is mostly here to watch, frankly. So she is now below 70% hit points. So double action just now. Single target strike, then AoE. And this is where Liana finally gets to shine with her ability to cast Prayer to heal up everybody. So why don't I just start though with young Jessica's range attack. And then I guess Tiaris can single target heal up Rachel. Hit Arianrhod and heal up the other two. Landius can start attack, continue to single target strike whenever he's not faction buffing. Ledin can do the same. As long as Ledin has Phalanx soldiers, he will not die. It's only when he has no Phalanx that he has a chance of dying. And I'm going to finally have Liana prayer up. So between Liana's prayer and Tiaris' mass heal, there should be no way for your characters to die. Ledin takes another hit. Continuing to apply damage. And then turn. And Ledin's Divine Guard, Ledin's Righteous Duel wears off this turn. So what I can do is move him back. No, I'm just gonna let it wear off. It's safer. So, well, let's start with Rachel, tossing out a holy word. And providing some healing to Ledin. And then Ledin can single target strike Arianrhod and heal a bit. And then I can have young Jessica cleanse attack from afar. And Arianrhod shifts to her second form now at this point. So around 120k hit points left was when she shifted to second form. In second form, she now has new skills. Stormlance X, Ultimate Saber, and Grand Cross. Really, it's just replacing Angular Hammer with Grand Cross, although Stormlance X and Ultimate Saber are annoying. Stormlance X has this effect. If it's used, range damage taken is decreased by half, and counterattack range is increased by 99, lasts 2 turns. So she would start counterattacking against all your ranged characters. And Ultimate Saber has the effect of applying heal reversal on all the characters that are hit by Ultimate Saber. Ultimate Saber has the same range as her other displacement skill, so it's the 3 straight lines, 2 blocks, right? So like this kind of rectangle here. But with my character placement already, there's no way she ever uses that, either of those. So it's fine. I'm not worried about it. And so what I will do is I'm going to actually move Tiaris in to heal up my Ledin. And I'm actually going to have Liana act again my Tiaris to get her out. At this point. And then she can reactivate Attack Blessing on young Jessica. Grand Cross doesn't kill anyone. That's the key point. So, my Rachel with 6,604 hit points and I guess 426 defense with plus 20% defense does survive it. Even if Arianrhod has 2 of the Steel Maiden buffs, so 10% increased attack and 10% increased damage, she'll survive. Barely, but she'll live. Okay, so that's roughly how much stats you need to survive that attack. So what I'm going to do here at this point is first, I'm going to purposely end young Jessica's turn. My young Jessica has her exclusive helmet. It's only level 20, but it has the effect of allowing her to act again with movement if she doesn't attack. So this lets me shift her 1 tile over and strike Arianrhod. It just breaks her shield, but that's okay. The whole point was more for shifting her position. Okay. Next, I'm going to have Ledin Righteous Dual Strike Arianrhod here. There's some soldiers alive, the Phalanx, so I know I can tank it. Right? The Phalanx absorb all the damage. Doesn't do any real damage, but it breaks the shield as well. So now, what I want to do is I'm going to move Liana to Gospel up. Young Jessica. Okay. And then I'm going to have Rachel Dark Reaper attack Arianrhod and self-heal and talent heal the rest. Oops, I forgot to attack with Landius. That's okay. Let's have him attack now. No big deal. It's fine. And then end turn where he is. And finally, I'm actually going to move Tiaris into the Steel Curse tile. So the Steel Curse tiles, their effect is that skill span is increased by 1, mobility is increased by 1, it can be stacked. And it also increases attacking int by 20%. So it lasts until the end of the battle. All healing received is converted into damage equals to 40% of the amount healed. So you get a heal reversal that cannot be dispelled and lasts 2 turns. But you can prevent the heal reversal with Gospel. So that's why I did the Gospel. Liana having a Teddy Bear or Jugler Plushie, increasing the Gospel to last longer is quite useful here because it allows you to stay on these tiles longer as a result. So, but Tiaris will want it just once to increase the skill span at the very least. So now Ledin tanks a hit from Arianrhod. And we see here that yes, being on this tile, I got this buff for the first time and no heal reversal. So continuing to throw out damage then. And let's cleanse attack. Let's have Rachel attack and Ledin attack. Oh, actually, Ledin should faction buff. So first, why don't I just get... I mean, I can allow Tiaris to get additional stacks of this attack and int increase, but keep in mind that the heal reversal is going to hurt. So it's kind of up to you what you want to do there. I'm just going to start removing her instead of letting her continue to take damage. And Ledin is going to faction buff. Rachel is going to single target strike. Interesting point is I'm going to move Rachel onto a steel curse tile as well. And gospel herself. So she can get the 20% increased stats for one turn anyways. Landius will faction buff. And Liana will simply end her turn. Ledin taking damage. And now what I can do is move Tiaris here to Healing Light and heal these two. Then Landius can strike. And end turn. Ledin can strike. And end turn. Liana can act again. Tiaris to get her out of that danger zone. Rachel can range attack with some extra int already. And I'm going to end it with Young Jessica, cleanse attack, and continue to get buffs. And finally, Tiaris is going to shift over and attack blessing my Young Jessica. So the battle continues. Now this is an interesting part of this fight. Okay? When this immunity expires, you will get the debuff, the heal conversion debuff. So I'm just going to move Young Jessica off this tile now to avoid taking the damage, unless I gospel her right away. So that's the other option. I can gospel her right now, but I think I'd rather make it last one extra turn. So I'm going to have Young Jessica shift off and just cleanse strike here for this turn. And then follow up with attacks from everybody. So, Landius strike. End turn. Ledin strike. End turn. Rachel Dark Reaper strike. And heal. And then Liana will gospel Young Jessica once more. And Tiaris will just end turn. Ledin tanking hits. Arianrhod act again, taking a second hit. So as long as you have this kind of position for your characters, there is no danger of anyone dying because she does not use Stormlance and Ultimate Saber. So this coming turn, she is going to use her Grand Cross again. If you need to, you can always retreat Rachel, but I clearly don't need to. So I'm going to have Rachel. Actually, I'm going to have Landius start with his attack. And then turn. Then Young Jessica will move back and attack here and get the buff again. Right? And Rachel should cleanse attack. So I'm going to end Landius' turn and have Rachel Holy Word and heal up the other characters. And they've been healed enough, so I'm just going to end turn and end turn with my two dedicated healers. So Ledin takes the hit. Interesting. No Grand Cross. Oh, Grand Cross is available now. Okay. So if I really want to avoid the Grand Cross, I can simply move Rachel to Gospel up again. Right? That's very, very viable. Ooh, young Jessica does not have any attack skills right now. So why don't I just end her turn? She gets to actually act again. And I'm gonna move her off. Because Gospel wears off. And then... I'm not sure I want Ledin to faction buff, but I think he also... I don't want... Yeah, it's awkward because Grand Cross is occurring this turn. Whatever. Let's just have Rachel Gospel herself and buff up some stats once again. Let's have Landius just attack. And end turn. I'm going to have Ledin just Righteous Duel instead. Or it's iffy. Because I'm giving up the faction buff entirely. But yeah, let's give it a shot. Righteous Duel here. Don't really want to get stripped of the faction buff, so I'll Righteous Duel instead. And then I'm going to Prayer up to heal. Because I need to get Ledin healthy. And Tiaris can provide the mass heal at this point. With the 1 extra range. There we go. Fully healed. Grand Cross. Followed by a single target. But Ledin lives. Even without the faction buff, he lives. So we're good. So now, let's follow up with getting the characters healthy again. And I just want to double check. Immune to stun. Yeah, that's not Gospel. So why don't I start with just a regular single target strike here. Breaking the shield. And then Rachel can follow up. But first, I'm going to actually choose to Gospel up. Ledin faction buff now. He's very low on health, but so be it. Because I can have Rachel range attack and Holy Word healed on both. And then Landius can activate his faction buff to buff them both up. And finally, let's get the attack blessing onto young Jessica. And Liana can begin gospeling young Jessica. And Arianrhod is nearly dead. So, cleanse attack, right? Young Jessica's intelligence steadily increases from being on these tiles. What is it at now? 2491. Okay. Rachel can also attack, but first I'm gonna have these other two add damage. Landius, Ledin, and Rachel with the healing. Is this a turn where she's going to use Act again? Yes it is, so I might as well have Tiaris provide mass heal. Just to make sure Ledin's at higher hit points. And Liana can just end turn. Not really using her Act again at all anymore. I could have used it to bring Tiaris here for Healing Light, but honestly, Ledin is tanking the hits anyways without healing light, so I don't need it. And at this point, battle's over. So the 2491 int Young Jessica, 1582 int Rachel, easily finishing this fight. Also worth mentioning is you can choose to replace Landius with Leon, right? Leon can do the same thing with Smash rather than Rout. And Leon can also Chivalry, so he could get onto these tiles in Chivalry and probably get the buffs before attacking. Or something like that anyways. So yeah, it could be interesting. But regardless, I used Landius to do this. And now the battle is done. And there we go. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you found this video useful to you. And on that note, Nitro out.